watching Cafecito Chat con Betsaida LeBron. I'm Betsaida, and you are about to watch the recorded version of the interview that happened at the last Cafecito Chat. And as a reminder, this is only one part of what happens at Cafecito Chat. There's the interview, and then there's the conversation that happens live in the Zoom room. So if you want to be part of the action, you gotta be live in the Zoom. But for now, enjoy the recorded interview. Enjoy the episode. Hi everyone, welcome, bienvenidos a Cafecito Chat con Betsaida. I am your host, Betsaida LeBron, and currently I serve as the EVP of Professional Development for the Greater Sacramento Board of ALPFA. And I'm also a storytelling strategist and an emotional intelligence coach. And so I am super excited to be your host and just delighted to welcome you to this vibrant and growing community of storytellers, dreamers, and change makers. So each month, Cafecito Chat is about inviting you into an intimate, heartfelt conversation with truly remarkable guests who generously share their personal journeys, professional insights, and transformative stories. And so this format is designed especially to kind of create that meaningful connection and conversation. So we begin with an in-depth interview with a special guest. Today, my guest is Rico. And then that interview we will share on YouTube. And so you'll be able to go back and view it or share it with others, kind of giving you that front row seat to these conversations. But then what makes this cafecito truly special is that what follows immediately after is an off-the-record conversation with everyone who's here live in the Zoom. We will stop the recording, and then really that's when we kind of get to share and be inspired and get to know each other even better. So really thrilled for you to be here, and right, we're going to kind of jump into it. And one of the things that I always want to kind of highlight is like, why did we even name this Cafecito Chat? And it's for, if you don't know, cafecito, right? It means coffee. So we sit down and we have a coffee. And so in Latino culture, cafecito represents so much more than just a cup of coffee. It's actually a cherished tradition that embodies connection, community, and authentic conversation. So you come, get together around the table, right? Families, friends, we share un cafecito, and it's stories, it's laughter, and that's what this show is about. And in fact, Rico and I were talking that we don't even drink cafe. So neither of us are coffee drinkers, but we're still here for with a cafecito because it's the vibe. The vibe of cafecito is not about the coffee. It's about the conversations and having something to share and something to enjoy together. So the hope that you feel in casa, that you feel like you are home with us as we have this conversation. And so I'm going to ask Rico, our guest today, to just kind of introduce yourself to the folks that are here.
My name is Rico Rivera, and I am an immigrant from Mexico, Guadalajara, Jalisco. I've been here since I was 8 years old, and I am now in real estate. I've been in the real estate industry for 24 years, and I'm here in Sacramento, and I'm a residential real estate agent. That's it.
Amazing. We heard that little laugh, and I don't know if Arlene was laughing at just the fact that like 24 years. I think I'm gonna assume that the laugh is because you don't look old enough to have been in the business for that long. But
I like it. I'll take it.
So you were sharing earlier, kind of before we started jumping on the call, was that you don't drink coffee. So what's in your cup today? I want to always ask that. What's in your cup today?
So my cup is just agüita, water. I think I'm allergic to caffeine in the
Oh,
sense of when I have tried coffee or anything that's caffeinated, I feel like I'm on crack. And
mm,
so I get really jittery, and so I stay away from anything that has caffeine for as much as possible. and I don't need it. I'm super hyper
Yeah.
already. So, and I do know that a little shot of ginger juice can give you a lot of energy. So once in a while, I put that in my water in the morning.
So when you need a little pick me up, it's the ginger.
But I have a
Yeah.
long day.
Yeah. Fair. Um, Similarly, I am also drinking water, so staying hydrated. Mm. And then I always like to ask metaphorically, not literally, but what's in your cup? What is it that you're excited about that you're kind of um looking forward to, if you will? What's in your cup right now?
So I'm super excited about our event tomorrow,
Yeah.
the wealth creation event that we're putting together along with the Alpha, some of the leadership of Alpha. That's a huge deal for me. This is our first year doing this, so it's a series that's coming up. So I'm hoping that we'll have a great turnout, and that's a wealth creation series event. And then I'm also excited about an event that I'm hosting in my office next week, and that's a vision board party. I'm a diehard believer of vision boards and having something in front of you that your goals and stuff. And so this will be our second annual vision board party here in Sacramento, and you guys are all welcome. I'll make sure to get you the
Yeah.
invite for that.
Please do. What happens at a vision party for those who like this is all new words?
You I did this when I was 19 years old, by the way, and that's why I'm a diehard believer of it. Before I had anything, I was broke as a 19-year-old kid out of high school. Um, you just you cut out things, you draw things, you put stuff on on a poster board that you want to achieve, and I've just ever since I was 19, I started doing that, and I've realized how important it is for me to focus on my goals on a yearly basis. And there's some awesome things that have come. A lot of the things that are on my board have come true, and so I just keep
That's
dreaming
cool.
bigger and bigger.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's so valuable. And there is like science behind that when we can visualize something. Um,
Mhm.
we're able to then make it happen. And so I think that that's really powerful to kind of yeah, find a way to make those visuals real. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I might have to swing by with
Yeah,
that.
and there's a
Um,
little alcohol involved, so people dream bigger when
sometimes that helps,
yeah, that
whatever
helps.
whatever you need to do to kind of like think a little bit bigger, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and alcohol does tend to do that for folks. Um, dream responsibly. We're gonna say that.
Yes,
Um, but so kind of coming back to wealth creation. So this is an initiative that you kind of you're spearheading with Alpha, the Greater Sacramento. Um, kind of what is the your hope when you think about wealth creation and kind of bringing that to the community? Yeah, what's that
I think
dream?
I think the dream, and by the way, I wanted to shout out Vidal and Brian and everybody else that's on the committee that's really helping with that, including yourself. The dream to me is to essentially to help people get out of the mentality of money doesn't come from trees, money is evil. Just a lot of the things that as a young kid I was told by my parents, right?
Mm,
Because we didn't have the money, right? So you can't, no, don't ask for that, or don't. It was always a negative thing with money, and so growing up, it was hard to think that way or think positively about money. And so I feel like this series is really going to be able to help people, from the first step, being a beginner, maybe someone that's just out of college or still in college, to learn how to save money, and then what to do. What's the next natural step after you save some money? Is it making sure you have a 401k, an IRA, a Roth IRA? Do you want to buy your first home? Is your first home a condo, or should it be a single family home? Like just the natural next steps. And we're going to have some dynamic speakers, dynamic panelists, and it's going to go from beginners to experts to people that have 50 properties. I know someone that has 100 flips, right? So I want it to be a natural progression of, this is where I start today, and whether it's maybe just fixing my credit, but then this is where I can go, and if I really want to grow some wealth, how we can do it, because there's a lot of people that are doing it, and I think our community, our gente, need to do it as well.
yeah, yeah. And I love the way that you kind of structured that. So where it's like there's something for everybody. And so kind of, yeah, if that's interesting to folks, like, please check it out. These are quarterly.
Correct. There are
Yeah.
quarterly events, and we have a calendar. And if you can't make it here for the first one, you should try to make it to the second one. And it is going to rotate. It's not going to be at the same location because our goal is to grow it. We'll probably have about 40 to 50 people tomorrow night here at my office, right behind me, here at Icebox downtown or Midtown. But we're most likely going to grow this, and I think by the end of the year, we'll probably have over 100 people attend because of the dynamic speakers that we'll have at each event.
Yeah. And that's a good point that it's in person too. So for folks, yeah, it's going to be something to come in person in Sacramento, which, we don't always get those opportunities to meet in person. But I always really appreciate when we do. So I want to jump back because you said something and I was like, oh, that's so good. When you were talking about the stories, like the beliefs around money and that money is evil. I i think that one's a huge one. I think about when I was a kid and I just knew, oh, we didn't have money, so I wouldn't ask for things. And I would see, like, when other people would ask for things, I would be like, oh, like, it was almost like I'm better, like, morally better than them for not wanting anything. Does that, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
that money was evil. And so I when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, like that resonated so much. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk more about that and the different stories.
It's funny but true what our parents and our traditions would do because of something, right? And so, if you don't have money, then money is evil, right?
Okay.
And if you want too much, then your parents or anybody would remind you that money doesn't grow on trees, right? And there's other sayings that are more vulgar that they would say and stuff like that. But then knowing the difference today and knowing what other my mentors have said to me, like I have a mentor that said to me, I never told my kids no. I always told them not right now.
Mm,
But what can we do to get that? Like, hey mom, I want this. Well, not right now. We can't get it, but let's figure out a way we can get that for you and what you need to do to get that. So then the kids heard both kids, which are both engineers, one of them is an attorney that I know very close to me, have never had a limiting belief about money or about getting anything in their life. Like they knew they could do whatever they wanted as long as there was a plan. And so that's the same thing with money. That's the same thing with our goals. It's the same thing with what we want to have. You want to have that car. Okay, cool. What do you need to do to have that car? You want to have that house. Okay, cool. What do you need to do to have that house? So to me, it's just a different belief, right? It's what do I need to do to really have that? And the reality is not everybody wants everything or the same thing. Like you might not want what I want, you might not like what I
yeah.
like. And so there's plentiful. And that's the other thing, right? The other thing that I've learned as an adult is there's so much to go around. There's abundance, right? And so there is no scarcity mindset. The mindset of scarcity is what keeps us, with that limiting belief. And the reality is there's abundance of everything, and it's
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's for all of us. And that's one thing that I hope people would understand is that it's for you. It's not just for me. It's for you. It's for you too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is such a mindset, I this idea of, like, there's a fixed mindset, right? That people talk about, and a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset wants to understand, like, the borders of what, like, is possible, and then that's all that's possible. But a growth mindset is like anything is possible if we, like, imagine and reach for it. And I think you're saying, like, that that growth mindset also applies to how we think about wealth, and that it's like just seeing it as what's possible. And that can be really hard, especially for those of us whose parents didn't have that growth mindset, that had a really fixed mindset. um, because it can be really scary to have a growth mindset, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna say, when I was a kid, um, I remember that I got to, like, have my first like big birthday party, like I could invite people. And I was so scared because I was like, but now if I invite people and they don't come,
Yeah.
Like, and that I feel like that's the feeling of having a growth mindset, that it's like, well, if I imagine that anything is possible, now I'm like a little scared that what if it doesn't actually happen, right? And so that there's sometimes we will be so afraid of being hurt that we don't dream.
Because you don't want to have that, because it's hurtful, right? It's hurtful when it
Yeah,
doesn't happen. And a lot of people, when they get hurt that way, especially as adults, they give up, right? They're just like, I don't want to go through that again. And so they give up. But that's in everything. It's in everything in our life, whether it's, being fit, starting a firm, graduating, getting good grades. Like it's in everything. But if you think about it, and you really think about it,
relationships.
yeah,
Yeah,
relationships, it's always something that you have to work at. Like there's nothing, and I always say this, like, nothing ever easy was worth it. And no pressure, no diamonds, right? So anything that you've ever done that you've accomplished for yourself, it's always something you've had to work at, even when you were a little kid. Like being good at sports, you had to work at, you had to practice, being good at school, you had to do your homework, you have to study. Like it's always been like that. And so if we continue to do that and we're successful at it, money is the same thing. Like, accomplishing any of your goals is the same thing. And for me, like being an immigrant kid from Mexico and came here when I was 8 years old with just the clothes on my back, and my accomplishments are different than yours, but my accomplishments, and I'll tell you some of them, like going to the White House. I never thought I could ever go to the White House, and I've been in the White House when President Obama was there. Going to the Philippines, going to Rome, going to Germany. I mean, there's certain things that like were on my bucket list that I've done now, and I'm just so proud of that. And like I said, not everybody wants that. People want different things. But in my
yeah,
life, I feel like I've been successful.
yeah. What I mean, I do want to hear all about your White House trip, but I feel like maybe for another time. Um, but what are those things for you that feel like success? Because we're also talking about wealth creation, and you and I were casually before we started recording, we're saying wealth isn't just money. There's so much to like what makes you feel wealthy. So what are those things for you that make you feel wealthy, if you're willing to share?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different things, and there's some small things. Being able to have a house for my daughters. I have a 19-year-old daughter that works for the Sacramento County Sheriffs, and then I have a 23-year-old daughter that's a nail tech and has her own little spot, and she has her own little business. Uh, and so, being super proud of them is one thing that fulfills me. My wife, I've been married for 24 years. I have a 1957 Buick Century that was on my very first vision board when I was 19 year old. That makes me feel good. Like I'm like, I accomplished that goal. I've always wanted to have a nice classic car, and I was 19 years old when I put that on my vision board, and I have it today. And it's cherry, it's clean. Like I love that thing. And then obviously going to the White House was a big one for me, and just being able to like do things that I felt as a little kid, as a little 8-year-old, 9-year-old, that I could never do. And now feeling accomplished is like, that's it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What, like when you were 8 or 9, like kind of what helped you get from there to like where you are now, like because you're saying like, yeah, like that 8-year-old maybe thought like I couldn't, but at some point you really thought you could. What are those things, or who were those people, or what were those moments, if you can remember, like that helped you kind of
Oh man,
imagine?
that's a great question. First and foremost, my mom and dad, but my mom. My mom having just the courage to bring us here as at 8 year olds. I was the oldest of 5 kids at the time, and we came with my mom, and we were immigrants and crossed the border, got caught, went to jail 3 times, got booked, and so for her to just have the courage and just have that, I'm gonna say this chingona attitude, like she was a badass, right? And she still is. She's still with us. And so for me to see that from her and know that I could do it myself, it was my very first mentor. And then along the way, I had teachers, coaches that were really encouraging, that were really like, hey, Rico, you could really do this. Like you're a smart kid. you should go out for that. You should try this, you should coaches. I mean, I remember my soccer coach when I first started playing soccer. I think I was like 10 years old. The very first year, all I did was run around because I was fat. Like he was like, you need to go get in shape. Like he wouldn't put me in the game at all. The very first year, all I did was get in shape. And I hated that. But then I realized why he did that. Like he was like, hey, I need you to get into shape so you can be good to play. And then I was a really good player. Like, I even played like all the way up to college, before I quit college because I had a kid. But I was actually I got really good, and so throughout my years, there's been people that have tapped me on the shoulder and just coached me. And then also, I probably was 19 years old when I first got my job at Old Republic, when I just decided to ask for help. When I was like, "Hey, I admire you. Can you help me?" And the VP of the company was like, "Yeah, I'll help you. You come to me once a week on your own time during your lunch or after your work." And if you don't do the homework I give you or you're ever late, we're done. And I did that for an entire year. And it changed my life. And ever since then, I've had the courage to ask people for help and be humble and just be a sponge. And do that's the other thing. Do what people say to do. Like if I'm asking you for help and you're telling me what to do, hey, read this book. This is gonna help you. Read the book. Hey, you should try this. It's gonna help you. Then you should try that. And so I've been I've been really good of just being a sponge throughout these years and getting help from people that want to help and asking for help.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important. The asking for help, being willing to recognize like and like finding the people to ask help for. And I love what you said about like, and if you're, making the effort to ask for advice, take it. Like,
Yeah.
because that happens so much where people are like, um, I know people ask me sometimes for different advice, and then I check up on them when I see them again. Oh, hey, how'd it go? And they're like, it just falls off, and I'm like, well, I can't
Yeah,
care more about your thing than you care.
correct. You can't. You're right. You cannot care more about them than you can. And it's one of the hardest things for Latinos to do because we're prideful. We're prideful individuals, right?
Ooh,
And and so for us to like for us to just say, hey man, I need your help, or hey, I would like your advice, it's so hard. And so to me, and I know this for a fact, no one's ever at where they're at without any help. I mean, we've all had help since we were little kids. We've all had our parents, right? If we didn't have our parents, we had our grandparents. Like there was someone in your life that helped you get to where you're at today, right? Whether it's your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters. I mean, someone help you get to where you're at today. And then some of that is professional. Some of that is your boss. Some of that, and then there's the other side of that is some of that is people that pissed you off. That
right.
you put a little fire under your butt that you were like, I'll tell you, the vice president of our high school told me that I would amount to nothing in front of a lot of kids.
Mm,
And that hurt me so much that I was like, oh, that no, man, I'm
yeah.
gonna be somebody in my life. I'm gonna be somebody.
I
But it
won't
was
give you the
negative.
satisfaction, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction to like clown me like that. You know what I mean? Like, I was in high school. I was in 11th grade, but it made me so angry that it made me study, that it made me prove him wrong. And
Yeah.
that's happened in our life. And there's people like that in our life. And now I say thank you. Like, hey, thank you, man. You really, you did something for me that made a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. He lit a fire. He was trying to burn you down, but you're just like, hey, I'm just gonna focus on the fact that you did light a fire.
No, yeah,
Take it
yeah,
positive for my benefit. Yeah.
for sure. There's a book by Patrick Bet David called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And it really talks about that because there's people in our lives that really light a fire. And it's a great book. So I would recommend that book if anybody wants to check that out.
Choose your enemies wisely. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
Patrick Bet David.
so that is the first part. We just finished the interview, and so thank you so much for being the guest today, Rico. Thank you so much for the conversation. As we open it up to the rest of the group, kind of what's coming up for me as we had this conversation is just I would love to hear from folks. What is it that makes you feel wealthy? And thinking about Like, what does that mean for you? And thinking about what are those ways in which you can also think of like what you want, but maybe it's a not yet versus a no. So kind of opening our minds a little bit to the wealth that we want and that we are claiming for ourselves. So that's the conversation that we're going to continue to have, but that's off the record. So I'm going to hit stop recording. And for those who are watching this later on YouTube, thank you so much. And next time, be live in the Zoom. Okay.
Thanks for having me.